So I have the YouTube URL, which is the correct one, summary, and Google Doc URL with that same summary listed. So this is working very well. In this video, I'm going to show you my top 5 make.com integrations that I use almost every day in my business. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to give you 2 kind of native modules that come with Make that really make life easy when it comes to getting data into Make and actually transforming the data to the format that I need. So this will kind of build on top of each other, and each time, each additional module will use something from the previous module. So the first one that I will mention here is called Apify, and this is a website that allows you to basically run different scrapers on the web. So over here, as an example, I have this YouTube transcript ninja. So what this will do is it will get a video and get the transcript of it. So if I go to YouTube and I open up, I don't know, let's try to find a short-ish video. It's 9 minutes, 14 minutes. So we'll look at this. I'm gonna copy the link address. Go to this here, and there are 2 different ways how you can run this Apify. You can either do it manually. If I need a one-off result, I can just go to this page, paste in the URL right there, hit save and start. What is great is that you can run this JSON from make.com, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to JSON here. I'm going to choose save, or I'm going to copy this JSON. I'm going to ensure that I'm connected to the right account. So give me a second. So actually I wasn't. So all you need to do in order to connect is go to settings here, and if you go to API and integration, you can just either add a token here or just copy one that you already have. So I'm going to go back to make.com, paste in my token, and hit save. Now I will have access to the actors, which are the scrapers that I've already used. So I can choose the one I'm interested in, and I have this option. I can either run it synchronously or not. What this means is that if it will take longer than 120 seconds to finish, you should run it as asynchronously, which means that you would call it from one other workflow, and then when it's ready, it would then call a separate workflow. Beyond the scope of this video, but I can definitely create a video on that. So in this case, since it's a short video, I'm going to leave it as yes. And basically this will run, or it will wait for the process to finish before moving to the next module. Here there is the JSON, so I'm going to paste in the JSON right here. And here, I would obviously need to change to my YouTube URL. So for now, I'm just going to leave it as this. As we build this, like we build with the next modules, I'm going to change this to a variable name. And I'm going to choose OK. If I just run this, this should go out and create that transcript. So if I refresh that, and I go to runs, you will see that this is actually running. So it's been running for 16 seconds, and in a bit, this will give me the transcript right here. So that finished, I got the information back, and somewhere there will be the transcript. So let's see option, pricing usage. Actually, I need to add another module, which is the get dataset items. And for dataset ID, I'm going to pass the default dataset ID. So with Apify, there are these 2 modules. There's the run, and then there's the get. So in this case, I could also get the default dataset ID here, and then hard code this right there. So now, if I just run this module only, I should be able to get this empty transcript, which didn't quite work. Okay, interesting. So let's see. Let's choose another video. That's weird though. Let's see if there's transcriptions
It's not my job to be like
available. Interesting. Okay, subtitles, closed captions unavailable. So I picked a video that literally has no transcript available. Let's find another one, which ideally is short. Okay, let's find a dog training video. I'm gonna filter by under 4 minutes. Okay, let's take this one, copy link, go back to make. Now I'm gonna remove this hard coding and put in the variable default dataset ID. And I'm gonna go here and change the URL to this one. There's a bunch of additional information, so I'm gonna leave it as that, which should work. Yep. Let's try this again. So, okay, run this once. If I go back here, refresh, this is running. And if I look at the transcript now, I have the transcript right there. Top 3 things I hate to see on your dog as a professional dog trainer, starting with number 1. So that is Apify. I'm using it to get the transcript of a video. There is a lot of different scrapers that you can run. So if you go to the store, you can essentially either choose by category or type in something specific. So LinkedIn job scraper, LinkedIn mass profile finder, bulk scraper. If I go to Polo, there are scrapers for that. So essentially, the world is your oyster, or the sky is the limit. So that is Apify. You run it in Make.com, then you get the information once this is done running. Now, let's say that I want to go to the second module that I use very, very often. And in this case, it could be either ChatGPT, it would be Anthropic Claude. So it depends on whichever you prefer. I feel there are like things where OpenAI and ChatGPT does a better job, and vice versa with Claude. Let's just use OpenAI for this one. So I'm gonna unlink, I'm gonna delete that, or I'm gonna leave it as that, and I'm gonna add this one right here. I'm gonna choose a model. So let's go with GPT-4o Mini. I'm gonna say 1000 tokens, and I'm gonna add a message. So I'm gonna say, you are a YouTube transcriber summarizer. I'm gonna choose assistant and say, based on this video transcript, give me a quick summary of what the video is about. And I'm gonna pass the transcript from Apify. So, right, for some reason it's not finding that yet. I'm gonna hit OK. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna refresh it. Because what I want to do is be able to reference the data from Apify. So if I go back to ChatGPT, I now have access to all that. So what I want is the transcript data. So I just click on transcript and that gets added right there. So if I run this from the second step, so I'm gonna unlink this. Actually, let's grab the dataset ID from before. So get the details here, the history, and the dataset ID. One dataset ID here. Copy that, go back to the diagram, and I'm doing this just so I don't keep running this over and over again. So I'm just getting kind of the same old data from the dog training video. I'm going to paste in the dataset ID. And now we're just going to get the transcript and pass it on to ChatGPT for a quick summary. So that got the data, and now the input message to ChatGPT was, you are a YouTube transcriber summarizer. Based on this video transcript, give me a quick summary of what the video is about, and just passed on the transcript. As a result, I got this. The video discusses 3 pet peeves of a professional dog trainer regarding dog handling. First, it criticizes the use of fake dog service vests on non-service dogs, pointing out that it's obvious when a dog is not truly a service animal, especially if it's misbehaving. So I just got the summary from that video. Now, the next step would be or the next module I really love using is Airtable, because it allows me to save data easily so I can access it later. So I'm going to add that module here. I'm going to choose my that base, test base, and then my test base, which I'm going to open over here. Test base. This is what it will look like. So what I want is, generally I change this to record ID, formula equals record ID. And like this, I always ensure that there's a unique record ID for each row. Then what I want is the YouTube URL, which is a URL. I want the summary, which is a long text. And that's pretty much it. Can remove status, delete, and that should be fine. So when I refresh this, because now I added a table tree, and that should be able to pull the fields I put in. So here, I'm going to put the URL. Actually, I could also put in the transcript if I wanted to, but anyway. And as the summary, I'm going to put the result from ChatGPT. So now, I run this. So save, and zoom out, super zoomed in. So let's align that. So I'm going to get the dataset ID or the dataset information from Apify. I'm going to get the transcript and pass it to ChatGPT for a summary. And I'm going to save the summary in Airtable. So I'm going to run that. And if I go back to my my Airtable, you can see that added a new record in addition to the 3 that were there before. So if I open that, I get the YouTube URL, which is this one here. And I also get the summary that ChatGPT has created. So it is kind of building on top of each other. Now, let's say I wanted to create a Google document with this transcript. So in addition to saving this transcript here, I also want to add a Google Doc URL. I'm going to change this to URL, create. I'm going to create a document, a new transcript, or let's see what does new transcript for now. The content, I'm going to pass the result from ChatGPT. I'm going to save it in my drive, default location. This is kind of out in the way. Hit OK. And now this will create a Google document. What I want to do is also save the Google Doc URL to Airtable. So I'm going to go to Airtable, update the record. For the ID, I'm going to choose the ID of this record here. So I add it to the same row. So table is 3. Record ID will be Airtable ID. And I'm going to add the Google Doc URL, which is the web view link. Hit OK. So now, if I again save this, run it once, I go back here, I should get a new record where the same two URLs are pretty much, sorry, the same two records are the same as the one before, maybe with a slight change in the summary. So here, professional dog trainer discusses doctor things, shares their top 3 pet peeves, so pretty similar, just getting a different output from ChatGPT. And here, I'm getting a Google Doc URL. So if I open that up, I should get that created right there. Okay? Now, few final things in this video is a webhook and the JSON. So, a webhook is a great way to start running these scenarios. So, technically, let's say that instead of getting into this make.com scenario, running this and having to log in each time, I just want to have a URL that allows me to run this whole thing. So what I could do is move that there, connect all this, remove the hard coding from that, and look for ID. And now what I want to do is add a webhook there. It essentially allows me to pass on a URL in my browser. Excuse me. So, let's say that I want to pass a few pieces of information. I want to pass the YouTube URL. And that's pretty much it. So all I did to make this work is I added a question mark so I can pass different parameters. I then added the key, which is YouTube URL, and the value will be xxx. If I want to add more parameters, I can add an ampersand and say name equals excuse me. All right, after almost dying there and a quick water break, I'm back. So, and I'm going to pass a new key value pair, which is Kevin equals, sorry, name equals Kevin. So name is the key and the value would be Kevin. So if I go here and just as a test, run this once, this is waiting for the webhook to happen. So if I paste that, this should say accepted, which it did. And I get this information into make. So YouTube equals xxx, name equals Kevin. So what I'm interested in is the YouTube URL. So if I connect this back and I remove the old URL, I can pass on the YouTube URL right there. I'm not interested in the name, so that can stay like that. So now, technically, if I go back and do this, so YouTube URL, let's find a new video. Let's say we're going to take this. Put the link. Okay. So that is the actual YouTube URL. And what I'm going to do is take my hook, my webhook URL, which is that, and I'm going to pass on the YouTube URL, which is that right there. So essentially, if I open that up in a text editor, it looks something like this. So I have the make webhook URL, which is, let me just make it bigger. So I have the webhook URL, which is all this. Then I have a question mark, which means I'm going to pass on some parameters. The first parameter is called YouTube URL, and this is the value. What I might have to ensure is that this actually passes correctly. Because as you can see, there are some characters like question mark, slashes. So let's see if that actually works well. Let's just, as a test again, unlink that, run once, go back here, and hit enter. Let's see what happens. Yeah, and I think that didn't quite work. So, let's double check just in case. Yeah, that didn't quite work. So, we need to get a bit crafty here. YouTube URL equals, I'm not sure if I can pass that within quotes. Actually, yeah. So that, okay, which one? Okay, double check that. So run once. Let's say wait for new data. I'm gonna copy this as a whole because maybe it did pass through without quotes, without anything extra, just taking its sweet time. Okay, so this is still waiting. Okay, it is accepted, just taking a bit of time. Let's double check and confirm that this is the video. Okay, so that is passing on the URL. So now I can connect it back. That should start the Epify actor. It will get the transcription, get the actual transcription based on the ID, then create the summary, save the record in our table, create the Google Doc, update with the Google Doc URL. So let's run all this once. So hit run once, wait for your data, and I'm going to pass that link or the one in the text editor once more. So copy, paste that, and let's go back to make. Okay, that actually took its sweet time with the quotes. So I'm not sure that actually would get the transcript. No, it didn't. So no quotes at all, not needed. So in our table now, probably have no records. Okay. Yeah, we have this record which gets this error kind of message. It cannot be summarized because no transcription was actually passed. So that's not what we wanted. So go back to make, and if we run this correctly or run this once, hopefully wait for new data. I think all those codes were slowing down the whole thing and not actually getting it to run correctly. So YouTube URL, copy that, go back here, paste that, and hopefully in a second that will run. So that got accepted. Let's see if that passed on correctly, which it looks like it did. Then it got the summary, how to build a bond with your dog, got the actual, or rather got the transcript. Now this is the summary. This video outlines the step-by-step process, created the record in our table, Google Doc, and updated the record. So if I go back here, I open that up. So I have the YouTube URL, which is the correct one, summary, and Google Doc URL with that same summary listed. So this is working very well. One final thing I wanted to mention in this video that I use very, very often, once I understood how it works, is this JSON. So there's create JSON and parse JSON. And essentially what this allows you to do is pass on data in a very structured way. And all it takes on a very simplistic level is just like opening and closing a curly bracket and then saying YouTube URL is XXX. All right. So you're just saying, and that should be a different type of quote. I don't know why. That is changing to close quote. But anyway, so open quotes, whatever. So this is passing this key, and this is the value. I can pass on this key and say this is the value. So I can pass different parameters, different data to make. I can pass different arrays. For example, I can say puppies, and then I have an array of different items here. So there's quite some complexity that you can also get into. The great thing about this is that it will allow you to structure this data. So if you want structured data to be returned from ChatGPT, for example, you can get it to return it in JSON, and then you can handle it as necessary. The other great thing is that recently also OpenAI introduced this response format, which allows you to return a JSON object. So if you're interested in that, this is also something that will make life easier. So anyway, that's pretty much from my end in terms of the modules I use pretty much every day. There's webhooks to pass data to make.com. There's Apify to scrape data, OpenAI to enhance data using artificial intelligence, Airtable to add records, save data so it's accessible in the future, and Google Documents to create documents based on specific data. If you found this useful, I'd love if you give me a like and subscribe for this video so you don't miss future videos. And if you have any suggestions for videos to create in the future on this topic, I would also love to get your input as well. I'll speak to you soon.